Hello, everybody. I just want to do a video on another technique doing displacements. Um, Here I have a photo and I have a video element of some fire. It's pretty crazy looking fire. Um, it's not color corrected for this shot at all. It's not integrated very well. Normally we'd want to get rid of this hard edge that it has and blend it in a lot better. But I'm going to leave all that for now because this isn't about that. It's more about the displacement. One thing I will show you is if you do have fire um, and it's coming in too fast or too slow, usually they can tend to shoot at higher frame rates, and then you can actually scale the fire, even though fire doesn't scale very well. You kind of can tell, the size of the fire pretty easily with your eye. I think there's something about fire that just doesn't scale well. You can tell when something's blown up and it's actually a really small fire. But if you want to slow it down or speed it up, you can actually go to this little button right here, and you can actually just stretch or slow it down. So this is actually, if I crank it to 223, this is how it's going to react. If I go to 100, just type that in, enter. This is the original. It's pretty fast. So I'm actually going to slow it down. Um, Usually you want to be very careful with this because it can tend to stretch, break, or just look weird. So don't go too crazy with this. 200 is kind of a lot, but this is just for demo purposes. Um, so we have our element, um, and what we want to do is we want to create some heat ripples, right? So what we can do is we can actually add a new layer. We can right click, new solid, and this works. Black is great. We want black. Um, I'm actually going to make that a little bit higher. This actually doesn't really matter. Now I think about it. So then I'm going to add an effect. I'm going to go to simulate particle playground. And as you can see, this is why I said it doesn't matter because now I'm going to move this around. It's going to be, um, I'm going to move the can. This is what we call the cannon. So as you can see, it's a little fountain spouting out. So what I'm actually going to do is go to the cannon and I'm going to just grab this and reposition it right over here. Now, you may think, okay, you can grab this and you can see this red box and I'm moving it around, right? Let's see, reset this. Let's say, let's say we wanted the cannon down here and I moved the box like this. Now our end of our particles is going to be right here and everything's going to get cut off. So we don't want to actually do that. And that'll probably make more sense in a little bit. I'm actually going to go to this black layer and hit reset. And I'm actually going to push this up because it's okay if we actually go, as long as we don't go past the bottom. Then I'm actually going to go to the cannon, grab this little thing, and reposition it to right about in the center. So now this is where our particles will emit from. Like I said, it's called the cannon, as it shows right here. And then what we want is we want to crank how many particles we have way up. So that way we get a lot of particles. And then we want to actually do the barrel radius as well. So I did the particles first so we can see how many we have. So we want it to be as wide as the element. So let's just spread that out pretty wide. We can actually probably move the cannon up a little bit. Okay, so we got that going. Now next thing we want to do is at the beginning, our fire is already going, but at the beginning we only have a few particles. So we need to do what we call a pre-roll. And it's pretty easy with this is you just grab the layer and push it down. So I'm just going to pre-roll it and then drag this back out. And you can do it a few times if you want, but that should be enough. So now we got our pre-roll, and this is where we're at. And we want to keep the particle color red. We probably want to increase the velocity because our fire is pretty wild, so we kind of want to match that feel. So I'm going to crank that up. That feels pretty good. It might have to be a little bit higher, but for right now, I think that might be. Let's see here. So Particle Playground's okay. I actually really never use it, to be honest with you. There's a plugin called Trap Code, and it's much, much better. But I don't have it on here, and Particle Playground comes with After Effects, so that way I didn't want to show any plugins that you'd have to buy or anything. So comes with it. The reason why I don't like it as much is because it's hard to control the lifespan of the particles, and in Particle Playground, it's really, or in Trap Code, it's really easy. I'm actually going to make the particles bigger. Actually, I'm going to do it bigger than that. I'm going to go like maybe 6. Oops, that's the wrong one. Sorry, I was going to say they're not changing. I'm actually going to go to here, 6. There we go. Okay. So this is what we got so far. Looking good. It's coming down. We don't want it to fall like that. We want to go to gravity, and we want to kind of lower the gravity. Now, I don't really have much control. Usually in particle trap code, you could create ramps and different things to fall off and actually have them die as they get to a certain spot, and then you can randomize it so they don't all die at a certain line. So they slowly, like some get up higher, some die quicker. Unfortunately, there's not as easy as controls in Particle Playground, so I'm not going to be doing that right now. But okay, that works. Could probably be faster, but that's okay. Well, let's see here. Just out of curiosity, because I just unfortunately, the faster I go, the more they're going to go up here, and this is going to be way too high for a heat ripple. We'd really want to cut it off like in this area. But so we can really see what's going on, I'm gonna exaggerate that. You guys can obviously um, change your own settings. You can, yeah, those are never going to come down. That's okay. So do something like that. So with our displacement, we need the red and the green. So I'm actually going to duplicate this. I should name this, sorry. Now I'm going to duplicate it. And then I'm going to change the color to this one, to green. And I'm going to offset it by just rolling this layer down, different pre-rolls. So now they're not right on top of each other, so they're slightly different. You can actually change the scale, like if you want one to be a little bit bigger, you can offset them. You can change it a little bit. I would not do too crazy, but you definitely can change the settings a little bit on this. And then we are going to want to pre-comp, and we're going to want to move everything in. So I'm just going to call this oops, wow, can't type. That's okay. Not too worried about that. So inside of here, I'm going to add an adjustment layer. And I'm going to add a blur. Box blurs are usually pretty fast, meaning they're not computationally expensive. So I'm just going to add a little bit just so we don't see like an outline of the particles. Whoops, I just typed the exact same thing. There we go. The reason why I'm doing an adjustment layer instead of one on each is we always want to we want to make our comps as lean as possible at all times. So having an adjustment layer, it'll affect everything below it, and we can get the same. We can use one effect for both as opposed to two different blurs on each one when we know they're going to be the same amount. And that way it's going to save processing computing power. So that's something you always got to think of uh, as a compositor. You always got to keep that in mind. So now we're back here, and we don't really need to have this on. We don't need to see it at all. Again, keep in mind it's going to be probably too high for this, but that's okay. So then on our background layer, I'm going to add effects, distort, and I'm going to do displacement map. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change our map to the displacement map that we created. Okay. So now if we watch this, we can see we need to change, I believe it's not centered. So we need to actually, yeah, we need to change the center map sometimes to stretch. So now let's look at that. So now we got some waves going, some displacement. Obviously, like I said, it's too high and it's not as nice as it could be. I would probably say maybe some sort of mask and then feather, a really big feather, so it's got a nice fall off, um, and really dial this in a little bit better. But I just wanted to kind of get this video out real quick to show you that there are other ways to do displacement maps. And hopefully you learned a little bit of something. And again, keep in mind whenever you do fire, you're going to want to add it on and then color correct it to try to match your environment. Probably add some sort of nice glows to it, and some interactive lighting, usually with your surroundings as well. So hopefully you guys learned something, and can't wait to see your guys' finals coming up.